Hurricane Richard has made landfall in Belize. I'm Mike Naso from Internet Partnership Radio, and that is the subject of this morning's early morning tropical update video. You know, even though we are almost to November, in the Caribbean, especially in years like this, hurricane activity can continue almost towards Thanksgiving. We've seen it just in the last 10, 11 years. Very, very good examples. Lenny in 99 was almost a Category 5 in the northeastern Caribbean. I think it was November 17th of 99, around that time. It battered St. Croix at 155 miles an hour. Don't forget Michelle in early November of 2001. We also had to deal with Hurricane Lily in October of 2002, which struck the Gulf Coast. And then more recently, we've had Hurricane Wilma, and then in 2008, Omar and Paloma, both Category 4 hurricanes in the Caribbean, one in October, one in November of that year. Well, we don't have any Category 4 hurricanes out there today, but we do have Hurricane Richard, which we continue to watch very, very carefully, as Richard has made landfall in Belize. You can see there on the left side of the screen, it became a tiny little tightly coiled hurricane after many days of kind of teetering out. And you can see, even though it was very small, little Richard ended up packing a little bit of a punch. You can see in that image a little well-defined eye as it was coming in there towards Belize. Now here's the latest as of 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern on Hurricane Richard. It was at 17.3 north, 88.6 west. Winds were 90, so it tried to become a Category 2, and had it had another day or so, it probably could become at least a Category 3, I think. However, has run out of time, thankfully. Winds still gusting to 115 miles per hour, moving west-northwest at 981 millibars. It is expected to weaken over land, and then as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico, have very, very high wind shear. That's not going to allow it to reform or strengthen, or even really hold its own. It's probably going to dissipate. And it's not the water temperatures that are its problem, it's the wind shear. Water temperatures are, suffice to say, enough to have a major hurricane. Probably nothing stronger than a Cat 3 as we get towards October, especially along the North Gulf Coast. But down here, yeah, they're still piping hot. If this had a favorable environment, Richard would easily come back into an even stronger hurricane. Thankfully, it does not. You can see here's the wind profile, and even up towards Chetumal, you guys are getting tropical storm force winds, and then further south, except for the extreme area here of southern Belize. But those hurricane force winds are right around the eye of Hurricane Richard, and those could be as high as 90 miles per hour sustained, although that number will go down as Richard continues to move inland. And again, we're not going to have to deal with it after that, because even though the models do take it back out over water, some, the BAMs here, continue into Mexico, others towards Texas, mainly the no-gaps, which takes it directly towards Corpus Christi. The others have it hooking back down and around. In fact, that's becoming the consensus. That would generally mean that this system is going to dissipate and just kind of teeter out. But if somehow Richard did survive, it would have a better shot of at least maintaining itself, or possibly trying to organize a bit once it moves over water by being far down here. Remember Carl? Carl went from a tropical storm to a Category 3 hurricane in this short amount of time. That is very, very impressive, and no doubt Richard, had it had the same upper level conditions as Carl, would probably be doing the same. Thankfully, it does not. You can see here on the wind shear profile, Richard had this upper level anticyclone to its south and east, and so instead of being over the top of Richard, allowing for good ventilation, it was to the south and east, allowing for an undercutting of the system. And that really helped Richard kind of hold back its intensification until the last minute, because if it had done what it did this evening and today, becoming such a well-organized little Category 1 hurricane, had it done that 3 days ago, we'd be dealing with an extremely dangerous major hurricane, and luckily that is not the case. But you can see as it gets further north, the wind shear 20, 30, 40, 50 knots, 70 knots in the northern Gulf, which means that if for some reason Richard came out, organized back into a strong tropical storm or even a minimal hurricane, there is no way, if it tried to get to Texas or Louisiana or even northern Mexico, that it would be anything more than at the very most a very ill-defined minimal tropical storm. But that's really the very best case scenario, which is not looking easy to come by for Hurricane Richard at this time. You can see the latest satellite as the hurricane moved inland. It actually got a little better organized there. You can see it really started to coil up, and right there you could see the eye as it cleared out as it moved inland over Belize. It's cut right across. It's heading towards the Bay of Campeche, and clearly you can see on the left side these winds here are flowing outward, but notice how they're kind of streaking back this way. That's an indication of the wind shear that's going to be shredding this system once the center gets, say, to this region here. Then that's going to be completely sheared, and Richard's not going to have much of a future in the Atlantic Basin. But looking right there, little tiny October hurricane, no doubt. Yet again, another hurricane for the 2010 season. A better look on the AVN colorized. You can see convection was bursting as it was trying to come ashore, and right there as it made landfall, there was hints of that eye that got a little better organized. A hurricane this tiny with that type of eye, had it been out over these waters in a better environment, it could have pulled a Hurricane Wilma and gone straight to an extreme to catastrophic hurricane. That's what you always have to worry about with late season Caribbean storms, when they have this type of pinhole symmetry. But Richard, now inland, we won't have to deal with that. So that's going to do it for hurricane season 2010 as of today. However, I will note the GFS model continues to show another hurricane, a very powerful hurricane, in about 2.5 weeks. I know that's a long way out, take it with a grain of salt, but it does have it slashing over Jamaica and Haiti. And if it did become a hurricane, it would be named Hurricane Sherry. And so we're going to be watching for Sherry over the next few days and weeks, as really until November 20th, 30th, I wouldn't let your guard down anywhere in the Atlantic Basin, especially not in the Caribbean. I'm Mike Naso from IPR. I'll see you next time.